His name is Milton Santiago. He has well over 18 years of experience as a director of photography on feature films and documentaries, corporate and industrial videos, music videos, and new media. He has lensed campaigns and projects for Disney, Procter & Gamble, AMC, Princess Cruises, Easton Sports, Ulta Beauty, Dockers, Kate Hudson's Fabletics, PBS, Showtime Networks, Sundance Channel, Toyota, Adidas, Speed Network, and Reebok. And the list goes on and on. His feature film documentary projects have screened at festivals all over the US and the globe, including Tribeca Film Festival, HBO First Look, Cine Vegas, South by Southwest, Dance with Films, and the Newport Beach Film Festival. Milton recently completed work on the feature film The Unraveling, which premiered at the Copenhagen Film International Festival. He has had the honor of being mentored by 4 members of the American Society of Cinematographers. Milton is well-versed in all facets of image capture, from the photochemical process of shooting film to the intricate workflows of today's digital cameras. He brings that extensive knowledge to the classroom while continuing to work as a cutting-edge cinematographer. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Milton Santiago as he brings us his knowledge and know-how, as well as hand it over to him to present his slides tonight. Thanks. Milton, hand it over to you.
Thank you, Abby. Hey guys, good to see everybody today. Thanks for carving a little bit of time of your schedule to spend with me. I'm going to try my best to give you guys some value. When I was an undergraduate, I think my experience was slightly different than yours, because whenever like alumnus came around to maybe offer advice, a lot of times they were, attorneys or judges or doctors or accountants or business types, right? And here I am, an undergraduate with my eye on the prize of making films and content. And lo and behold, here I am, like a good 30 years later, and communications, this thing that I'm like passionate about, is actually the central, most important part of our like everyday life, right? Like there isn't a single industry in the world that doesn't want to hire storytellers, effective storytellers, to tell stories, because we are the storyteller is the vehicle by which we reach the audience, we reach the client, the customer. We are the money makers, and I think that's kind of cool. So if this is something that you're interested in as a career, I think you're in the right place, because visual communication, and particularly video, has never been more important. I've got nothing against social media, but platforms come and go. Video will remain, in my opinion. Maybe it's a little bit more short form, but it will remain. So hopefully I can give you guys some things that you can deploy at the chapter level, but more importantly, start to maybe get you thinking about what lies behind academic walls and potential careers in this. So let's start. Let me share my screen here. This is what I want, and I want to be here. Okay. So the first thing I like to start with is sort of, I think, an important sort of maxim, regardless of, I think this is true in terms of just communication for organizations, but also, interpersonal communication. And that's this idea that, since the beginning, since, Neanderthal man was in caves drawing paintings on walls, right? In the absence of data, human beings, people, we will always make up stories, right? Either it's because we need to kill the time, either because we want to better understand ourselves, or sometimes just to explain what we can't explain. And I think this is really important for a fraternity to understand, right? And you guys as VP of comms, if you are not out there telling the story of the fraternity, then you are ceding that position to someone else to tell that story for you. And they will find every reason. It's really easy to find bad stories to tell about fraternity. And the way that you can combat that is by literally flooding your networks with all the positive stuff that you do. And this doesn't have to be very complicated. It's just about consistency, staying on message, and understanding what your chapter is really all about and what makes your chapter unique and special. And so this is a word of encouragement, but it's also a warning. When you don't tell your story, someone is going to tell it for you, and I think that that's a dangerous position to be in sometimes. But it's also should empower you, right? You should feel empowered by that idea. So, what is visual storytelling? What differentiates this from other forms of storytelling? Well, for centuries since the beginning, right, visual storytelling has been used to educate primarily, teach someone new skills, make them aware of something new, right? Engage, right? So to provoke a conversation, right? To have a back and forth. The best type of storytelling is participatory for the audience. It's immersive. It brings them in. It makes them feel like they're participating in an exchange of ideas. And the last part is to motivate, right? Sometimes it's to motivate towards a social cause. Sometimes it's simple as motivating someone to reach inside their wallet, pull out the almighty dollar, and put it down for the product, right? I enjoy all facets of this, whether it's let's tell a story about a situation that has been told before, or whether it's about working with a corporation who's got a new model, a new line, a new apparel line that they're trying to bring to market. Telling, and for me, those forms of storytelling are, I'm using the same exact skill set regardless of of the work situation. And so, like, over the years, I think I have figured out some things that work that help crack the code and make things a little bit easier. So how do we do this with graphics, images, pictures, and videos, right? The core is still the same. What are we looking to do? We're looking to create content that drives emotions, that elicits an emotional response from the viewer. We're looking for something that to create something that will motivate the viewer to interact. In your case, you're going to have different stakeholders. Maybe it's your alumni base. Maybe it's your university community. Maybe it's potential new members. Maybe it's your Greek life partners, right? Whatever it is, if you're going to go through the trouble of creating content, the idea is to get them to interact with you, not simply put stuff out there and say, hey, we said it, it's there, you see the brand. That's not enough. We want to ultimately motivate our audience to do something, right? Whether it's a click, whether it's a donation, whether it's a RSVP, whatever it is, the point of the video is to get them to do something, right? And so in order to get people to do something, I think something that sometimes gets lost is to ask. You got to ask. You got to ask your audience to do something, and a great video, will do that. Great images will do that when coupled with the other forms of expanding on that message. Now, here's the facts, and I'm sure that maybe some of the previous VIPs have touched on this before, but it has never been harder to break through, right? I mean, we're talking about 4.6 billion pieces of content get produced daily. That's 500 hours uploaded to YouTube every minute, right? 2 million plus articles posted every day. So we're looking to cut through a lot of noise. There's a lot of competition for our eyeballs, right? And what has this resulted in? It's resulted in a decreased attention span, right? The average viewer, if you don't get them in the first 8 seconds, you're going to lose them. And these are actually conversations that I have with corporations when we're going, or clients, commercial clients, when we're going through their creative briefs, when we're analyzing who's the demographic we're trying to reach. And I'm working with a director and we're trying to think, okay, what's the first image? What is that? What's the hook? What are we going to get them to, what are we going to put out in front of them that's going to get them to stay? And it's not like you can create a great 8 seconds of video and then let it live and be like, okay, I'm good. Because within 6 minutes, that's the average life of a social media post. And we know that how powerfully influential video is, because basically every purchase is influenced by a search. I mean, who in their right mind goes out and buys something without researching it, right? Without getting opinions. So if you look through the SIGEP lens to think that that's not true for us as a fraternity, I think that's kind of a little foolish, right? I suspect that each and every single one of you guys, before you chose to come out to a recruitment event for SIGAP, you probably did a little bit of homework, right? What am I getting into? What is this chapter of at my campus of SIGAP like? Who can I speak to? And maybe what's out there, right? So what do audiences remember most about a brand, right? In my experience, it's the perceived value that the brand brings to their lives, right? This is a personal thing. What's in it for me, right? What is in it for me? What is SIGAP offering that would make my life better, right? And that's to an extent what potential new members are looking for as well, right? If they're going to join a fraternity, it's like, what is it? What's in it for me? That's at least where it starts, right? And once we recruit men into the fraternity, then we can sort of say, all right, actually, we're about being outwards, right? We're about taking the values that we live and sharing those outwards. But at least in the initial ask of getting people in through the door, right, they're going to be judging you guys based on what's in it for them. And that's a key, I think, understanding to sort of grasp on, because it gives you an angle and a motivation by which you can choose the creative content or what you want to work with. So what makes quality visual storytelling? So first, I want to show you guys a little video of a Nike spot that I think does some things exceptionally well. Some of you may have seen this before, but let's see what you guys think of this.
We're never alone. And that is our strength. Because when we're doubted, we'll play as one. When we're held back, we'll go farther and harder. If we're not taken seriously, we'll prove that wrong. And if we don't fit the sport, we'll change the sport. We know things won't always go our way.
And the world's sporting events are postponed or cancelled.
But whatever it is, we'll find a way. And when things aren't fair, we'll come together for change.
We have a responsibility
to make this world a better place.
And no matter how bad it gets, we will always come back stronger. Because nothing can stop what we can do together.
All right. Whew. I'm ready to go, aren't you? So, let's get here. 1 second. Okay, so what are your thoughts? What did you think? What worked for you in that video? You guys can chime in or answer on the chat. Let's hear from you guys.
I mean, obviously, I think the editing is pretty impressive and probably took a really long time to match all those clips up. But it really gives you an interesting message of, two different sports kind of counteracting and us all being there for the same goal. And it obviously has a message that's carried out throughout the video, and they displayed it in a really creative and interesting way.
Excellent. Other opinions?
One part that stuck out to me was how it showed both professional athletes and amateur athletes. It's like all kinds of different aspects of the sports culture.
Excellent. Let me ask you guys this. Did we learn anything new in this video? Was it like preachy? Was it trying to explain the sports? What was it preying on? What part of you did it prey on?
think it was calling on the unity, more or less. So showing how everybody was kind of coexisting, and then they got through the hard times, and then they ended up going into the got out from on its onto the better side. So it's just kind of showing the unity.
And isn't that something that we're all dealing with, one way or the other, right? Right now in this moment, right? It's effective because last I checked, I didn't hear anything about new Jordans. I didn't hear anything about the new Air Max 90s. I didn't hear anything about Blazers or any of that stuff, right? I didn't hear anything about some new air cushioning, sole, right? None of that. None of that was in there. What it focused on was emotion, your emotion, the way that it made you feel, your perspective, right? And that feeling you attach to the brand. And maybe that might make you go in and drop that $200 on those new KDs, right? You might do it. You might actually do it and feel good about it and feel like, oh, I'm going to buy this brand and this brand is pushing this larger message, right? This is something SIGAP can do very, very well if you put your mind to it, right? We can sell the emotion. We can sell the experience. We can sell what's in it for potential new members. We can sell to a community why we're needed, right? Why a group like ours is special and why every campus should have a SIGAP chapter. That's a different mindset, right? That is a different mindset. You can sell features of SIGAP. Nothing wrong with talking about the BMP. Nothing wrong with talking about, Quest to Greece. None of that. No, there's nothing wrong with any of that. But if you can sell in your images, in your video, the feeling of what it's like to be part of our brotherhood and what that means, that is going to be a more effective message for you. And it's unique to each campus, right? Each campus, each chapter has their own brand identity. And I think it's okay to kind of latch onto what's great at your individual campus. So let's get back to these last couple slides I have, right? So how do we do this, right? How do we do? Whoops, I meant to hit present. So great visual storytelling creates tension. Now that might sound like a negative, but what we mean by tension is just emotional tension. The most powerful of which is fear of missing out, FOMO, right? No one wants to feel like they're missing out. If you can create a video or a set of images that create that feeling in your potential recruitment pool, you're going to win that game. You're going to win that game over your competitors. We want to entertain. If we can educate, great. But I think the creation of tension is a big one. Facilitating micro interactions, right? Getting creative, especially you guys can do this really well in on things like TikTok and your Insta stories, right? That additional click is a micro interaction. So we get the video and then we get a little extra ask. And then lastly, a clear call to action. Here's where we want you to go next. Here's where you can check us out some more. Here's where you can find out more, right? Once you have that particular audience locked in, you want to be able to ask them to go that extra step. This is huge. Okay, use active images. Okay, I see. I'll go through the timeline. I was SIGAP. I'm like, I subscribe to a lot of chapters. I'm like, oh, cool. There's another group shot. Awesome. There's that shot of the house. Awesome. Love it. I see the video, and it's guys like in informal attire, and they're standing around, they're mugging the camera, and that's all well and good, but that doesn't get it done, right? When we're talking about emotion, what we want to do is we want to show the chapter in action. We want to show members in action, right? Whether it's your philanthropy, whether it's a fundraiser, whether it's intramurals, whatever it is, your job as the VP of the VPCom is to capture the essence of the moment, right? That thing that actually makes you that gives me a sense of what it would be like to be there, right? Or damn, I missed out on that. So active images are huge, a huge way of doing this. And as it relates to active image, I'm going to give you a little rule, right? What is Alfred Hitchcock, well-known, famous director of Days of a Bygone Era? He had this rule, which was the size of any object in your frame should be proportional to its importance in your story. All right, so this right here is probably the single most powerful vehicle in the human image, which is the face, right? Happy faces, engaged faces, faces doing things, you know, and this is going to inform your equipment, right? If you have equipment that sort of prevents you from getting in close, maybe talking to your VP finance about investing in that chapter zoom lens, maybe that's a good idea, right? Because this is the real estate in which we work with. And you want to make sure that you give it justice. Like in this image, you can see that there's selective focus. These two individuals are locked in. We see them crisply. They separate from the background, and we can see that something is happening. There's a moment. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is technical proficiency actually matters. I know that there's a lot of people out there with, camera phones and they think they could just, I got to selfie this, I could selfie that, or it's all good. Like, it doesn't even have to be that good. In my opinion, no, it should be good. It should be good, right? So if you're the VP Comm, you should really think about knowing the rule of thirds. I don't personally use the rule of thirds because I'm a professional and I don't have to use those cheats anymore. I can focus on the emotion of the script or the subtext. But you guys as burgeoning image makers and image capturers definitely rely on the comfort and the order that a rule of thirds approach gives you. Be mindful of great lighting. Okay, you don't have to have expensive gear to do lighting. Lighting is all about observing the space, observing your atmosphere, and figuring out the right time of day, or taking your subject and putting them by the window, understanding your relationship as the photographer or the camera person in relation to the light source, and making the proper adjustment. And this takes this is not as difficult as it seems. There's a whole lot of YouTube University out there that can help you with simple lighting approaches. The last two are exposing correctly. So if you're doing this on your phone, there's that little sun slider. Use it, right? Don't let your phone decide for you. You decide where the exposure is. For those of you that are a little bit more savvy with your DSLRs or whatever it is, your video cameras, your GoPros, whatever it is that you're shooting, study your camera. Get to know your equipment. Like, experiment with it. And lastly is keep your shots in focus, right? Realize what the most important part of your frame is. Where is the story? And give it the attention that it needs to get it there. And there are, in terms of learning your camera, in learning your camera, you can really help yourself. You can really help yourself with things like focus by understanding things like ISO sensitivity and and your aperture and how that works. So I wanted to make sure that I left more time than was necessary to answer questions that you guys might have for me.
All right, y'all. So we are now in the Q&A portion. Thank you so much, Milton, for that. Everyone out there, my name is Guillermo Flores. I'm the digital media director for SIGAP. Very excited to be here with all of you. And I did have someone who asked me a question, and they said, Milton, what advice do you have for those of us who just have an iPhone? So what else can we do with video and iPhone? What are some tips?
So that's a great question. I also teach cinematography at a film school here in LA, and I have classes where my more sort of technically oriented students are using Canon DSLRs, Sony DSLRs, that sort of thing to learn. And then I have whole other classes where I'm dealing with screenwriters and editors and actors who are intimidated by the camera, and all of their projects are done with this. And I can tell you that the camera on your phone is far more technologically advanced than anything that Bresson have. Any famous photographer that's ever lived would cut off their arm to have this. Right? So first thing I would tell you to do is realize there's apps out there, guys. There's better apps than what Apple gives you, right? Some that I would recommend would be ProMovie. Pro Movie as an app is one. Filmic Pro is another. So I'll put those in the chat. Pro Movie and Filmic Pro. And what these apps will allow you to do is they'll give your phone greater video capability, right? You'll have more control over things like your exposure. You'll have more precise control over your focus. You can also shoot in modes like log that expand the dynamic range and your ability of your phone to capture different tones in your image more successfully. So that's the first thing I would tell you is get a better app. Don't just go with the camera app that comes with the phone. Also, I mean, I'm lucky enough to have one of these the 12s with the 3 lenses, and this is a game changer as far as I'm concerned. Being able to switch to the telephoto lens, which I think is about a 55 millimeter lens, I think this makes a big difference as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And if anyone else, Q&A, keep going with the questions, please.
Hey, so when you were talking about like technical proficiency, like as far as video goes, I know like the algorithms nowadays, like if your entire screen's taken up, like you're obviously gonna get like higher engagement. So would you recommend like doing the max crop video? I think it's like 1080 by 1350 to where it's like almost like a little taller than a square on Instagram, especially. I know
Yeah.
it takes away from like the quality of your video, but like, would you recommend cropping everything to that?
Yeah, listen,
Like,
I do. That's a great question. I do. Look, I just I did a series of spots for Emma Chamberlain about a month and a half ago. You guys probably know more about Emma Chamberlain than I do, but she's a pretty popular YouTube influencer, right? And almost exclusively these days, when I'm shooting for branded content, I'm shooting 16:9 while shooting 4:5 while shooting 9:16. So I'm shooting all 3 simultaneously. And there's a reason for that. It's because of what you just said, right? The brands know that you're going to have to cover yourself for those things. So what you can do, right, if you have to serve a couple different masters, like you're like, look, I want to shoot this thing and I want it for YouTube, right? But I also want to be able to make sure that I'm covering myself for an Insta or a TikTok, right? Whatever it is. You can just draw guidelines right on your phone, right? Some guidelines that give you an estimate of, what that real estate is going to be, so you're looking at 3 boxes at once. You can do that with, like Scotch tape, right? Like nothing too crazy, something transparent that you can see through, but that'll allow you. And with some cameras, I mean, again, some of you guys might have access to little external monitors, this sort of thing. I can put in custom like frame guides on something like this and be able to shoot multiples. But yes, I recommend cropping if you can, if that's something that you feel comfortable with and you know how to do it using, Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere or something like that. Definitely do it.
all right, yeah, thank you so much. I've been doing that. I just like have to like figure out how to, cause I use like a DSLR, and sometimes it's just hard to gauge like how cropped the video is going to be. But I feel like it definitely helps with like engagement. Like there's a noticeable difference in engagement when the video takes up the full screen.
Yeah, I've had some projects too where, like, I've literally had a custom rig built where I'm shooting video with the camera this way, like not this way, but like, all right, we're gonna do this. This is what we're prioritizing, right? And it is what it is. And the beauty is, okay, I've got a better lens, right? I'm not relegated to the phone, but it gets the job done, right? And it makes the cropping process a little bit easier. More resolution jammed into that real estate. Yeah. Great question.
I have a question. So I make recruitment videos for like SIGEP and then other sororities on campus. And so I've noticed when I'm shooting things for sororities, like they do lots of usage of the FOMO technique where like they'll have lots of people running around laughing and posing and having testimonials like that. Do you think there's a way to like bring that idea to fraternal rush videos and not have it be, I don't know, as cheesy? Because the audiences are different, obviously. So how would we make sure it works with a group of guys versus a group of gals?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, if we were doing this in the real world, we would just do the research, right? And that might mean, hey, let's carve out 15 minutes of a chapter meeting, and I'm going to ask you guys a series of questions, or I'm going to put out a survey. Like, why did you join? What are the things that we do that you look forward to the most? What are the things that you couldn't imagine not being able to do? What is SIGEP to you? And those are the things that I would allow my peers to identify, that I would choose to sell. Because if my peers, right, my brothers feel that way, then it's highly likely that that's what a potential new member is going to be into, right? So rather than attacking the answer generally, well, be specific, right? Be specific to your campus and to your chapter's culture and history. I know, for example, if you're trying to make that video for alumni, right, or you want an alumni, what are they going to look after, right? The alumni are going to be thinking about, maybe it's a special event, right? Maybe it's a homecoming, right? Or maybe it's a tailgate or whatever it is, right? Like for us, there are specific things that we remember about our SIGEP experience that's instant, like, all right, cool. Where do I sign the check? All right, yeah, that's got to keep going, right? Like that can't end. We get so fired up of, what do you mean they don't do that anymore, right? Like that's that sort of reaction. So those are the things, right, the things that you identify, Lewis. Those are the things that ultimately will be your draws as an alumni. So I think just have that conversation. Make it a point to really survey your brothers, right? Survey your brothers and get a good sense of what speaks to them. And I think that that's going to unlock the path forward for what type of content to create.
No, thank you. And I filmed 8 testimonials earlier this semester, and I've put out 3 of them in Instagram Reels. That gave me the motivation to just finish up the last 8 and put them out online. So
there you go. Awesome.
Appreciate it.
All right, Milton. Next up, we have a question from Austin from Mississippi Beta, and then I'm going to turn over to Juan from Cleveland State for his question. So our question from Austin is looking to put together a rush video for the chapter this summer. What is a good and free and also easy to use computer software for editing and compiling clips to make a rush video?
Okay, so this is a tougher question. I still think iMovie is out there, right? And that's relatively like next to nothing. So like that's if you're Mac based, that's what I would recommend, since it's such a natural segue into Final Cut Pro, which really in the aggregate isn't really that expensive. But and I know all of you guys are coming from different campuses, working with different budgets and different resources and stuff. That being said, right, I think that we can all agree that a budget is a good snapshot of a chapter's values. Like what you decide to spend money on is very indicative of what your priorities are. And, I think that as VPs of communication, you have an opportunity to further establish yourself as part of that integral part of both the programming and recruitment pipeline. And so, saying, hey, actually, we need $250 to buy Final Cut Pro. I think that's a fair ask. And if it stays, with the chapter in some way, cool. Also leverage university assets, right? Leverage other students that you might know. It might be easier, even if you're like, look, I don't really know how to edit. Okay. Pay someone else to do it. Just come prepared, right? Come prepared with the idea. That's what we do, right? People hire. I don't know how to shoot. Okay. Pay someone to do it. For the amount of content that you're trying to create shouldn't be. We're not talking about week-long edits, right? Maybe a couple hours if you plan correctly. But yeah, my first recommendation would be iMovie. I think that's still viable. It's easy to use, and by using that, you can learn how to use some of the other ones. I love Premiere as well, because you can, at least as a student, you could get a student subscription for something like $20 a month, right? So you can maybe sign up, get it. It's not, there's a lot of material out there for how to use it. It's not that complicated, really. The insert editing facet of it. Resolve is another one, right? Resolve is another one, but some people get a little bit intimidated by Resolve because it has so many things going on in there. But yeah, those are all 3 great solutions.
All right, now turning it over to Juan from Cleveland State.
Hey there, Milton. So as a future cinematographer myself, what steps to success that you used back in your day would you recommend now to start getting into the film industry?
Oof. Just like what I. That's a great question. There are a few things, right? I can sort of separate it out between maybe three categories, right? So first is you, right? First is what am I doing for myself, right? What am I doing to make myself more sensitive to what makes a good image, and what are the types of images that I'm attracted to, right? So this is like requires, the things that others will give you grief about, like why are you watching so much? Why are you constantly binge watching? Like, on average, I probably watch something like 30 to 40 music videos a month. I watch. I go to websites that just put out all the recent ads for the week, so I'm watching all the ads, and then I'm jumping around Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, like what's new, maybe watch a scene there, scene there, scene there. Then I've spending the rest of my time reading magazines like British Cinematographer, American Cinematographer. Like it never ends, right? It's a nonstop sort of pursuit and exploration, and I enjoy it. It's like, I like to do it, so it's not like work to me, but it's about jamming as many images in my head, right? The database, because I never know when I'm going to have to use it. I never know when I'm client facing and they suggest an ask. I want to be able to communicate with what they want. So say for example, if I'm in a meeting and someone says, "Oh yeah, that scene from Promising Young Woman, you know the one, right?" If I don't know what they're talking about, I'm in trouble, right? I'm in big trouble. So I want to make sure that never happens, and I know what's going on. The second part of it is sort of what I think Abby, Guillermo, and Heather, the whole career coaching thing, right? What's great about that is even in cinematography, you can go out there and you can seek out a mentor. You can seek out someone who's walked the path that you've walked and ask questions and maybe even get on set once or twice, right? Like, hey, can I just come and shadow you? Can I just come and watch and observe? That was the single most important thing I did early on in my career. I've had incredible opportunities to shadow and apprentice with established people, and that really helped me understand what the nuance of the job is. And what I learned, which is actually probably the most important thing, and I think one of the things that has helped me progress in what I do, is that the ability to create great images, right, and to be well versed in the technical and the aesthetic is probably about 35% of the job. The rest of it is dealing with people. The rest is management. The rest is being someone who people enjoy working with, being prepared, right, organized. That carries the day. Like it's a people business. I want to give directors and producers a really good experience, right, where they know that they can trust me and that they'll come back because they know that I'm technically proficient. I deliver the right thing the first time, and I have no ego about me in that way, right? So that's one of the best things, and I would say that's one of the things that I got most out of my SIGEP experience was getting thrown in front of a room, right, and having to lead a group, right? Like I got to be chapter president, so that's one of the things that I remember. Was like I have to lead this group of divergent people who have different points of view and want to go in different directions. And what am I really trying to do? I'm trying to rally everyone around a singular vision, right? That is exactly what I do as a cinematographer, right? It's not my vision, it's the director's vision, but I'm still the primary filmmaker. I'm still the one that's got to get all the individual departments to fall into line and join us on this journey towards the creation of this image that reflects the values or the messaging of the film. And that is very, very SIGAP. There's a lot of connections there that I can draw directly between my SIGAP experience and what I do now. So those three things, right? While you're still at Cleveland State, dive in, right? Dive in, take advantage of all the leadership opportunities that you have that are away from filmmaking. See if you can identify a mentor that you can connect with early on, and continue to invest in yourself and in your database of images.
Right. Thank you.
I had a question regarding a promotion for an event we're having upcoming. We're having upcoming Sandslam event, and it's really important for us to get us back up in the like premier center of the campus view when it comes to Greek life compared to what we used to be. So I was trying to figure out, like, outside of the normal things of just promotion, what else can I do to make sure that we can get as much community interaction on campus from people outside of Greek life that normally wouldn't even know about this, more or less.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. It's almost, let me ask you this. Is this event an event that you plan to do annually, or is it just like a one-off?
It's something we do every single year, but with COVID, starting to close up a little bit, hopefully with our school saying we don't have to wear masks as much, it was just really important. Now this is the first event where we've had a little bit more relaxed restrictions, and just trying to get our fraternity back above all the other fraternities on campus and trying to get us back in that premier focus.
So Jack, here I don't know that, given like the time frame, I don't know that I have something that's easily deployable right now, but I do think that what you do have is an opportunity to prepare for the future, right? Because you're going into the event, right? So maybe similarly to Lewis's question, right, where his was more of an internal question, like what is it that we value or that a potential new member would identify with. I think in terms of the community, right, what is it? What are the aspects of the event that you can identify now that people would view as a value add to their experience or their community, right? Identify those things now, and then make it a mission to capture them, right? To capture them this year, so that you can then deploy those images next year, right? So you're setting up the next VP Com by having those assets on hand and by strategically thinking about what those things are. How do you find those things out? You ask your stakeholders. I mean, again, like we are at the highest level, none of this is chance. Everything is highly researched, and the marketing is science-based. It's like we ask people, what is it about this group, this product, this service that speaks to you? So I would reach out to your university partners and people that you're already corresponding with and working with to plan the event. Get their feedback. What is it about this event that you think the university really likes? Why you support it? And latch on to those things, and then that should give you a direction for the types of imagery that you should be capturing that you can then use down the road.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I'll keep all that in mind. And then I really liked what you said about the action shots, outside of people posing for the pictures too as well. So that's definitely, I'm going to try to get that up and going and try to jump on top of all the other organizations here, because that's all I ever see on Instagram is just people posing for the photos. So see if I can start that getting done.
Yeah, and I would say, look, if you here's the thing, right? Anybody can be. It's a good thing and the bad thing. Let's start with the bad thing. Anybody can be a photographer or a videographer. That's the bad thing. The good thing is anybody can be a videographer or a photographer, right? So like it can be a mandate to the chapter. Hey, guys, everyone collectively, here are some parameters for the types of images that I'm looking for. If you just happen to find yourself in a situation where you could take out your phone and take a shot of people doing things and then send them all to me at my email, or a central depository, you can multiply your reach, right? You can multiply your effectiveness. Don't feel like you have to take it all on your own. You should be mobilizing your fellow brothers to help you in that endeavor. Your job is to provide the strategic vision for how we tell that story and giving them pointers along the way, but everybody can participate in the acquisition of the images.
Yeah, awesome. That makes a lot of sense as well too. So I'll definitely have to write that down and keep that in mind for next for our chapter meeting.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I got a question for like rush videos and such. You know, with if there's anything that stands out to you that you've maybe seen, I think every video's got, you know, like the parties and the, you know, the house tours, testimonials and whatnot. What have you seen or like thought of that would like really stand out and like separate SIGEP from all the other cookie cutter like rush videos?
This is a great question. I'm glad you asked it because I'm not the hugest fan of what I've seen, because, and that's not because oh, here's this old fart alumni who's worried about the brand, right? I just don't think you know. I think there are a lot of groups on campus who can offer a lot of the same things, right? Like parties, experiences, surfing, games, intramurals. A lot of groups can do that. What makes us different, right? What makes us different? That's I think was most important. And even if you don't, the other thing that I'll say to that, right, is that there is nothing more powerful than the testimonial or the video that tells the story through the first person, right? It's one thing to tell a story where we're SIGAP, we win these awards, we get this GPA, we do this is what we do, virtue, diligence, and brotherly love, join SIGAP, Rush 2021, right? Like, it's like, here it is, right? That's different than, say, let's tell the story of a day through the eyes of one of our Sigma class members. I'm going to follow you around one day, and I'm going to document your day as a student at Tennessee and as a member of this chapter, right? And if you can highlight all of the points where the SIGAP experience brings value to that individual's life, whether it's support from peers in terms of like studying for classes, whether it's, hey, chilling out with a great group of guys and playing Call of Duty after a long day of tests, whether it's, you know, participating in this philanthropy with my brothers, right? Pick a date, like a window of time where, like, wow, it looks like on our calendar we've got like these 3 or 4 things going on in this 3-day span, and do like a day in a life thing with one guy, right? With one person following them. That to me is gonna speak more to this thing of I'm talking about the experience, and being able to identify and see potential new members seeing themselves like, wow, that's something I didn't think about. I thought a fraternity was this. All these fraternities are selling me on this. This one is actually trying to show me what it's actually really like to be in a fraternity. Like the stuff that's not always seen, that's not easily visible. That is potent stuff. Potent way to market to market yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Kind of to add on to that, I made the videos for the spring and everything, and what we kind of did was just like the generic cookie cutter house tour, and then like it kind of led on. I had a drone go out the front door and then go to the house, and it started like a montage of like us playing sports and all that. So, do you think it would be kind of a better idea instead, like scrap the whole house tour thing and all that, because they'll get to do that on Rush? If we did kind of like your single person perspective and then that kind of be transitioned into like a massive, like this is kind of everything we do. Everyone loves like the hype video with the music and all that. I think that
Boom.
gets all the brothers riled up and everything. So
Boom. Hey, there's nothing wrong with hype video. I just showed you one, right? Nike just hyped us up, but they did it through an intimate look, right? An active look into these athletes' struggles, triumphs, and even things that aren't seen, like the workout, right? The glory that happens in the gym before the actual event, right? Those are the types of elements that I think sometimes we miss on in, you know, sort of the stereotypical recruitment video. We show a lot of the features, right? A house is a feature, but what is actually the benefit of living in the house, right? The ability to just be able to connect with other guys at any point in your day, right? You just got off the phone, you had a bad phone call, something bad happened, you can turn and right down the hall, there's your brother there to prop you up and hold you up. That is the stuff that makes the fraternity, not the physical structure, but the interactions that happen inside of that. If you can do a job of capturing that, whether it's first person, whether it's multiple people telling the story, however you want to do it. There's lots of ways, an infinite ways of doing it. But I think that's going to carry the day and be more impactful and more memorable in the end.
Thank you.
I have another question. Just to add on to that, I really liked what Rhett was talking about, how like just making standard videos, like going kind of above and beyond and like doing the thing you do with a drone flying through. I have a question. So with social media, I've noticed that sometimes when we do like more novel creative ideas to get more reach, do you have a process on like generating lots of creative ideas, or like someone you talk to, or like a system for that at all?
That's a tougher question because I tend to be more on the execution side, right? The ideas generally the ideas generally come to me, and they're either going to work or not work based on the execution. But what I do think is that it's okay to get as many at bats as possible, right? If you make an attempt and it doesn't get the level of engagement that you want, so what? Move on to the next one, right? It here today, gone tomorrow, right? So like that said, study the results, right? If you notice, hey, this type of video that I put out, it seems to be doing much better than the previous 5. Well, shame on you if you're not trying to study like, well, what is it about this video that's connecting on these eyeballs? I guarantee you it ain't a hashtag. It ain't that. It's got to be, there's something more to it. And if you find the formula, replicate it. And even that is not assured, right? That'll only take you so long. So, I think the biggest challenge that you guys have in general is it can feel overwhelming, right? Like, oh, I got to create all this content. I don't know how to do it. So again, I would say that leverage the other guys in the room, right? Leverage everyone that you can, and your job is just to be the central hub, right? And be the gatekeeper. This works. This does not work. But if we did this and we modified this could work. Let's try it. Okay. Right? Did it work out? Nah, didn't work out so well. Oh yeah, this actually worked. Okay, let's do it again. Rinse, repeat, run it again. And I think this is where the preparation part, right? So, in the I forget the question that I got asked before about maybe thinking about next year. This is why that communications plan is so important that you guys put together, because you don't really want to be guessing on the fly. If you can get ahead of the game and plan ahead and know, okay, next month we're doing X, Y, and Z, let me start thinking about what it is I'm going to put out. Now, study it, hand that plan off to the next VP Com. Here's what I did last year that worked or didn't work. Here are the levels of engagement. Study it. If you make it, let's put it this way. A VP of Finance who goes through a year of budget and doesn't hand that off to the next VP of Finance with accurate numbers, that's not going to fly, right? That's not going to fly. Why would VP of Communications be any different?
That's great stuff. Thank you so much. Probably because I wasn't handed any information, but I'll make sure to pass it off to the next person.
Hey, yeah, listen, and Lewis, that is not an uncommon thing, right? I've facilitated a lot of VPCon sessions over the years, and it's always the same thing. It's like, oh, no one told me what the job was. I didn't know. And it's like, I mean, we do something that's recorded, right? Like it's immortalized on the internet. Like it's right there. All you got to do is go back, right? And show the execution. We got the files. You got the photos someplace. Do you have a drive? Do you have a chapter drive that houses all of your data, that houses all your images? We might want to think about that, right? Because here's the other thing. An image that you shoot today may not work today, but it could work tomorrow, or it could work down the line 2 months. You won't know unless you have those things, right? So there's a little bit about archiving the assets that you have and continually scouring your brothers for stuff that they might have that you didn't even realize they had that you can use.
Yeah, I was first to create a Google Drive before that. I just asked all the previous comms guys from the past 4 years for stuff from their hard drives, so I've been collecting all that.
Awesome,
nice.
Good on you.
It's nice.
Now, if you can only keep the passwords, if we can only figure out how to pass on the passwords, we'll be all right.
And Milton, so thank you so much for the absolutely incredible information. How can SIGEP Brothers get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you guys can. I'm on Instagram at Milton Santiago. You can also shoot me an email at miltsantiago@gmail. My website is out there, miltonsantiago.com. If you guys want to check out some of my work, that's all out there. If you have any questions on any of the executions there, the campaigns, you're curious, definitely reach out. I always love connecting with SIGEPs and helping them in any way I can.